Thank you very much, Elif, for this nice introduction and for having me tonight. Before to start my talk, I'd like to express my feelings about my special connection with Arit. Already you mentioned, but at 2000, I got a scholarship, Aegean Fellowship from Arit, and I studied my PhD research at American School at Athens. And after that, 2003, I got another scholarship, Hoffman Scholarship, at the Oriental Institute, University of Chicago. These opportunities not only valuable for my PhD studies, library research, also it was very valuable because the connections. We were the PhD candidates in that time, but after that, we are now colleagues, and from that time until now, we are still doing some common research publications together. So the connection, the network is very valuable. So in this respect, I would like to special thank to Arit for their support, and special thank to Professor Greenwald and his family for this very valuable support. I hope it will continue in for many years to come. And thank you again. Yes, today I'm going to start with new perspectives in Hittite archaeology. I mean the recent developments, but um, in recent, I mean in last 10 or 12 years, what happened in Hittite archaeology, what information has been added to our knowledge. I'm going to try to explain briefly a kind of frame about the Hittite archaeology. Many people here are already familiar with some information, but considering the students or not archaeologists audience, I will briefly repeat and explain some of these points in more detail. Um, the Hittites and their capital, Hattusa, were not yet known until the beginning of the 20th century. The plans and drawings prepared by the French Charles Texier, who was the first European traveler to visit Boğazkale in 1834, and published Description de la Zemineur in 1839, had a great impact in the archaeological community. The Hittite kingdom, subsequently empire, and its capital Hattusa, based in central Anatolia, Turkey, is recognized from both rich archaeological remains and textual sources as one of the major Old World powers of the Eastern Mediterranean and Near East between 1650 and 1200 BCE. At its apex, the Hittites maintained control over central, southern, and southeastern Anatolia, the northern Levant, and northern Syria, with almost all of Anatolia being under the Hittite sphere of influence. With the contributions of many archaeological excavations and research since the mentioned years, Hittite archaeology continues to provide us with new information until today. We continue to learn many features of the Hittite culture, such as written language history, domestic and foreign policy, art, architectural elements, religion, and cult in line with new excavations. Today, I already mentioned, I will try to review some of the new information that has come to the fore with Hittite research in recent years. But as you can guess, because of time consuming, it will not be possible to present all of the recent information here. I'd like to start about the new discoveries in Hittite archaeology with Kültepe, Nesha. Kültepe is located within the provincial borders of Kayseri, and Anatolia's transition to historical periods begins with the written documents unearthed here. As a result of organized trade with Anatolian and Assyrian merchants in the second millennium BC, Hittite names mentioned in Assyrian cuneiform documents indicate the presence of the Hittites in Anatolia from this period onwards. The layer defined as 1A in the Hacettepe chronology is important for the beginning of the Old Hittite period. Apart from written documents, archaeological evidence also provides evidence of the continuity in the development of Hittite culture in Anatolia. Archaeological data, such as the previously known ceramic tradition and illustrated works of art, were the indicators of this continuity. But a new one has added to our previous information about the pioneer of Hittite art. These depictions of new relief vessel unearthed from Hacettepe, recovered from the basement of a building. The first three shirts depict a lion, as you can see, from left to right, a goat, and a lyre-playing figure wearing a bird mask. On the last shirt, there's a man who depicted with an erection, and the depiction of a woman can be seen at the very last shirt. To the depictions of musicians and holy marriage scenes on relief vase also had taken place on traditional vessel depictions of the early Hittite period vases. The form of the lyre also reminds us of Hittite examples. This is the Hacettepe example, and when we look at the inandık vase, you can see the quite similar lyre depiction on it. And the traditional vessel depictions on the early Hittite period vases. The form of the lyre also reminds us of Hittite examples. Detailed studies on this subject will further expand our knowledge. Beyond the archaeological finds, ritual scenes that reflect cultural continuity also provide important evidence for understanding the continuity between the Assyrian trade colony period and the Old Hittite period. We will now turn on the reflections of this continuity in the capital, Hattusa, with particular attention to new evidence from settlement plans. Hattusa, the capital city of the Hittites, continues to enrich our knowledge with its new archaeological data. The site has been UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1986, and almost 30,000 clay tablets with cuneiform writing have been found there so far. These tablets, which were included in the UNESCO World Documentary Heritage in 2001. It was thought by researchers that there was an approximately 80-year gap between the Assyrian trade colonies and the beginning of the Hittite periods. However, excavations have shown that there is no such interruption. The city has developed and grown over time, and Assyrian trade colonies period in two phases like Hacettepe is also valid here. Recent archaeological discoveries, together with a reassessment of excavations conducted in the central Lower Town in the 1970s, demonstrate that Boğazköy shows a clear continuity of settlement from the Karun period through an intermediate phase into the Old Hittite period. This uninterrupted occupation is supported by evidence from both residential architecture and ceramic assemblages across several parts of the Old Town. The data suggests that everyday cultural practice developed in a relatively stable and continuous manner, largely independent of changes in political authority. While many archaeological, architectural, and cuneiform data show the uninterrupted development of the city, One of these written documents was found in 2017 in Old Assyrian language, contains the correspondence of two Anatolian kings. The tablet in question dates back to the period contemporary with the Kültepe 1B layer, that is approximately 1800 and 1719 BCE. This uninterrupted settlement shows that they did not come to Hattusa to establish a capital after the Assyrian trade colonies period. It is understood that they became an empire here with the skill of the rulers who came to Hattusa as a result of the struggles between the city-states during the Assyrian trade colonies period. And we can say that recent excavations at Boğazköy Hattusa show that the transition from the Karun period to the Old Hittite kingdom was gradual rather than abrupt. Stratigraphic sequences and radiocarbon dates from the lower city demonstrate continuous settlement activity, suggesting that while political authority changed, everyday life and occupation continued without a major break. Um, Actually, lots of information, as we expected, is going to be from Hattusa, the capital city itself. And another one, again, from Hattusa. In recent years, besides the settlements layout, certain archaeological finds have also generated considerable excitement in Hittite archaeology, and one of these is the Huasi stone. This is the Huasi stone. This is the first time we found the archaeological option from one of the excavation, and these are the hieroglyphic what's it? Hieroglyphic inscriptions, and you can see the sign, hieroglyphic sign here, and we can read it here and here as a Huasi, and it looks like almost the same form from Hattusa example. It was found in upper land of Hattusa. A probable Huasi stone was found from the area, but before the stone itself, I will give an information about what Huasi in Hittite religion. The Huasi stones, often translated as sacred stone, were located originally consisted of naturally shaped stones. These stones might be located outside temples, in wooded or rocky areas, on mountains, or in other prominent places within the natural landscape. From the reign of Tutalia IV onward, these were gradually replaced by relief decorated stelae. These stones appear to have received cultic veneration similar to that of divine stages, like Kızlar Kayası. Huasi stands out as a key aspect of Hittite religious practice, attracting extensive scholarly attention in the past. These Huasi are understood as cult images, as revealed by ancient texts. A cult image is defined as a representation of a deity that is worshipped either permanently or temporally, identified with the god or symbolizing them. These cult images were not just static objects, they were deeply involved in social interactions through ritual practices. The close relationship between gods and their cult images was fundamental in the potential creation of new gods. Essentially, each time a new cult image was created, it provided the foundation for the potential emergence of a new deity, showcasing the dynamic nature of Hittite religious beliefs and practices. When we look at the shape, the stones were typically plain stones, devoid of decoration, although they might occasionally feature reliefs or inscriptions. While it's possible that rough, uncarved stones resembling stelae served as cult stelae, there is no direct evidence to suggest that irregular rocks were ever worshipped as such. Additionally, the term stones was never used for funerary stones. However, these stones could have secondary roles, such as serving as boundary markers or mention memorial stelae, and were sometimes utilized in cultic contexts as materia magica. It means magical objects. Artifact recovered from Boğazköy measures 40 times 20 centimeters, and its upper part is shaped in round form. The lower part is worked to ensure that it stands upright. So if we ask where our previous knowledge about Huasi signs, we have two inscriptions I have already mentioned with Luwian hieroglyphs. The first source comes from Boğazköy, and the second is from Çalapverdi inscription in Yozgat. Showed us signs interpreted as Huasi. These artifacts, unearthed in Hattusa, may provide us with archaeological evidence of Huasi for the first time. We will continue with Hattusa examples, and another example from Boğazköy is wooden bags or furniture piece which has made of bone or ivory. A circular ash residue found at the discovery spot suggests that it may have belonged to a table of similar form. Although the object is broken on the right and left sides, the upper and lower edges are preserved and indicating that the original piece was probably longer. This work is a unique piece for Boğazköy. For the first time, a work adorned with such an intense and beautifully crafted scene. It consists of Sphinx, lion, and tree of life motifs on the piece in question. The entire narration is arranged to be repetitive. In particular, the widespread display of motifs such as the hat on the head of the Sphinx and the tree of life or floral motifs are known from Hittite art. As you can see from the fist-shaped vessel at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. So we are familiar this type of depictions, but also known from further fields such as Greece, the Levant, Syria, and Cyprus. So this is an important as evidence of the artistic relations with different regions. The work can be dated approximately to the second half of the 14th century BC and the beginning of the 13th century BC. Maybe the most exciting part about recent developments in the study of the Hittite language and Hittite language continue to offer valuable insights for scholars working in this field. I'm going to mention two examples, two examples. The first is the recently identified Kalasma language. The second is the group of 249 painted red hieroglyphic signs discovered in the pattern structure known as Yerkapı. These discoveries provide important evidence about the language of continuities living in particular regions. While the hieroglyphic signs also raise questions about symbolic meanings and ritual practices in the Hittite capital Hattusa, together they suggest that writing in the Hittite world could serve different functions and contexts. I would like to thank to Professor Şahner to give permission to use these images and the information here. And also, I forget to say that Professor Fikri Kulakoğlu for the Hacettepe pieces. Yes, the recent excavations on the northwest slope of Büyükkale have revealed an important discovery, a text written in the language of Kalasma a previously unknown Anatolian Indo-European language. I'm not going to discuss the philological issues. As you know, I'm not a philologist, but I will explain why this new discovery is very important for us. For the Kalasma language, at the top of the tablet, there's a short summary written in Hittite. From this section, we understand that the tablet belongs to a ritual text. The introduction tells us that an invocation was made to the storm god of Kalasma, and that a favorable response from the deity was expected. Offerings were presented in order to receive this divine answer. What makes this tablet particularly interesting is what follows next. After the Hittite introduction, the text continues in an Anatolian language that has not yet been fully identified. At the end of the Hittite section, we read a clear instruction: from now on, read in the language of the land of Kalasma. The remainder of the tablet is then written in that language. Kalasma is thought to have been located in the western Black Sea region of Anatolia, roughly in the area of modern Bolu, Gerede, and Karabük. The fact that the ritual was performed in the local language of Kalasma is quite significant. It suggests that the Hittite administration allowed local traditions and languages to remain part of ritual practice. In this way, the tablet provides a remarkable example of how the Hittite state incorporated different communities into its system. At the same time, it offers an important glimpse into a multilingual and multicultural character of ancient Anatolia. One of the most important evidence is coming from Annals of Mushili II. It is mentioned that the ruler of the country of Pala and Tumana took the cities of Sarkuzza and Zaparasta before Misuvanzas and made the entire country of Kalasma a country of Hatti again. All these city names in the text and the Pala country allow us to make a rough inference. The scholars believe the newly discovered language Kalasma was spoken by a people who lived in the land of Kalasma, a region on the northwestern edge of the Hittite heartland. Of course, it's an important knowledge of the historical geography studies as well. And another very important written development is the brown red painted hieroglyph signs on the Poten in Hattusa. In the Hittite Empire period, Anatolian hieroglyphs are regularly found on rock monuments or seals, either engraved or in relief. But the signs discovered in Yerkapı were written on the stone blocks with paint. Associate Professor Bülent Genç from Artuklu University has recognized the first time, I guess, the signs at the Poston in Boğazkale. Painted inscriptions were only before that, I mean, before the Yerkapı, known from Kayalıpınar, Sivas, Samuha, and Suratkaya, Muğla. But the number of signs found there is extremely small. Through the finds from Yerkapı, it is now becoming increasingly clear that Anatolian hieroglyphic writing was much more widespread in the society of the Second Millennium BC than was previously assumed. These finds open up a completely new, unexpected window into a late Bronze Age. One of the signs mentions about a road passing from Mount Tutalia. Although our information is still limited about where its location is, but the virtual location of this mountain here constitutes another evidence for city planning of Hattusa and symbolic meanings of during the rituals. Actually, there were some suggestions about the hieroglyphic signs. First, they read it, already mentioned Mount Tutalia, and secondly, they mentioned some stoneworking and the people who is dealing with the stoneworking. And the first reading was about Donkey Gate or something like that from the app. But the sign, I guess now they changed their mind. So it is still in question. Marazi, Bolatti, Metin Alparslan still dealing with to work on these hieroglyphic signs. So in the future studies, we are going to learn much more these exciting hieroglyphic signs. Um, we still continue with Boğazköy, surprisingly. Another subject is of interest about the 3D scanning studies carried out in Boğazkale was the question of whether the reliefs in Yazılıkaya and other areas of the settlement were painted. As we know, fragments of wall paintings were recovered from Boğazköy, although in small numbers. You can see here that Büyükkaleci structure finds the very small painted wall paintings. And painted wall fragments from Temple 5 and Temple 9 are the main examples known so far. But analysis of the relief of Tutale the Fourth in Yazılıkaya and the relief of the Sangat in room 2nd of Südburg revealed traces of four different tones, namely red, yellow, blue, and black. So as a result of future studies, it will be possible to obtain more detailed information about the colors of the Hittites. You see here the red, yellow, blue, and black traces of the colors found in Yazılıkaya and Südburg area. So it was a kind of thank you to Rosemary Robertson. Maybe the Yazılıkaya should be now we can imagine the Yazılıkaya in this respect, very colorful image. So it could be very exciting to think about in this way. And now another find. This is a fist-shaped vessel. We have already known a silver fist-shaped vessel preserved in the Boston Museum. And the other one is clay fist-shaped vessel found in Boğazköy. Made in different material, but gives us new information about the vessel form that we already knew. Hittite cult vessels, these two remarkable Hittite cult vessels shaped as a clenched fist. The first is a well-known silver example preserved in the Boston Museum. And the second terracotta vessel, here it is, discovered during the 2017 excavations at Boğazköy Hattusa. Although they are made of different materials, both vessels share striking similarities in form and especially in the placement of rosette-like motifs on the hand. One is over here, and the other one is here. I and Professor Ayşegül Aykurt wrote an article to Festschrift to Tuğba Ökse about it. We are not saying so much certain things, but at least some suggestions. and I'm going to mention it a little bit more, but of course we are waiting much more comments from the philologists. So we will see. Um, in the artistic and symbolic tradition of the ancient Near East, the rosette is often associated with divine and royal imagery. In the Hittite context as well, the motif appears to be closely connected with solar symbolism and ideology of kingship. Therefore, the rosette motifs on the fist-shaped vessels may not simply be decorative elements. Rather, when considered together with Hittite textual evidence, they could be interpreted as symbolic references to royal authority and perhaps to the idea that the king's power to rule was granted by the gods. But yes, we are waiting for the new comments from the philologists. We couldn't find any clear example from the written documents holding something seal-like object. There's no any expression something like that, but we will see. Maybe we missed it, and the Titologist will find another nice proof what is in it and what is the meaning of this. Um, Now, I would like to also mention about my survey project. Um, um, Konya Fosiller Survey, with permission from the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism and with the sponsorship of Hacettepe University. Survey campaigns have been conducted in the vicinity of Fosiller under my general directorship of the Fosiller Regional Archaeological Project since the season of 2012 until 2019. The freestanding monument of Fasıllar is located above the village of the same name, about 15 kilometers southeast of the modern city of Beyşehir. The site has been regularly visited since its discovery in the 19th century. However, until the beginning of our survey project, initiated with official authorization from the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism, no systematic archaeological research or publication had been devoted directly to this monument and its surroundings. The statue is approximately 8 meters tall and it is made of trahite, which is a type of local stone. The entire structure is carved in high relief and consists of two lions that are carved almost entirely in the round. Both the fronts and the sides of the felines project beyond the other edges of the totem-like monument. This is the original one. Unfortunately, still lying in the middle of the Fasıllar village, very unprotected situation. This is the sample of the Fasıllar monument at Anatolian Civilizations Museum Garden. Two Hittite gods are positioned between the two lines, one standing on top of the other. The gesture of the bottom deity strongly suggests that he is a mountain god. There it is. One. And the other one is the storm god, conical cap, and the striding position. Because of the roughly hewn nature of the images on the monument and the abundance of trahite found on the hill on which the monument currently rests, scholars have concluded that the megalith is unfinished. It was roughed out for transportation, but left in situ for some unknown disruption to the project. The dating of the Fasıllar monument has always been elusive. The lack of inscriptions or any specific details make the dating of the monument very difficult. Based on ideological, on stylistic criteria, 13th century BC has been widely accepted as the date of this gigantic statue. There could be two main reasons for the first project involving the fossil statue to be abandoned. One is that the storm god may have been too heavy to be transported, and the second is that changing political dynamics may have led to the alteration of plans on how to monumentalize the spring at Eflatunpınar. Um, it has been often argued that the largely unfinished nature of the statue indicates the intention to transport the monument to another location than Fasıllar itself. Mainly, it was thought that it could be connected with Eflatun from 17-20 kilometers away from the Fasıllar. However, the carving of the artistic program on the Colossus is completed. It is the final details of the figures that seem left unfinished. The close to complete appearance of the statue suggests that its final location may well not have been too far away from where it is found today. When one examines the details of the face of the fossilized lions and when we look at the gods together, they are heavily weathered. Such fine details as the eyes, the nose, and the mouth appear well sculptured. Perhaps the fossilized monument can be evaluated in the very context where it is found today. In fact, the rocky hilltop where the monument lies today can be seen as a suitable space for a Hittite site. It contains all topographical features that are appealing for a conceptually and religiously charged and Hittite place in the landscape. The site of the monument is located on a hilly terrain in eyesight of large mountains with access to numerous springs and other hydraulic features. This is the fossilized survey, fossilized monument. The monument is lying over here, and around the monument, this is the fossilized village. There are some famous depictions on rocks. One is the very famous Ablucada rock tomb from Roman period, and I'm going to talk about our new not very new, but quite new, found the Sphinx. So maybe really we should think about the fossillar shouldn't be taught to translate another place. Maybe it is their original place. It was the original place of the fossillar monument. I visited the fossillar together with Dr. Lee Ullman in 2011. During the visit, he drew our attention to a rock that he had noticed earlier. On a rock outcrop about 600 meters northwest of the fossillar monument were identified and what we believe to be a sphinx that may date to the Hittite period. It is difficult to see at first when you look at it from the profile, and when you close it, it is much more difficult to see. It looks like a sphinx, but it is almost 2 meters high, the sphinx, and as you can see, it was not completed. It is apparent that the legs, the underbody, the wings, and the hood-like headdress were in the early stages of being formed before the carving was abandoned. Probably due to the natural split that occurred in the rock. What is interesting is that despite the current poor condition of the Sphinx, it is clear that a great deal of skill went into the execution of the face. And we do some RTI works here, and later our research on the Sphinx continued as part of our regional survey project that we launched, RTI studies, have revealed that The stone has been processed, definitely. We can see the traces of the traces on it, and it is obvious that it is on purpose. It has been processed. Um, if this area was only a quarry, why would a sphinx be carved high up on the hill in a place that is difficult to access and transport from? Especially when many other large stones are available in much more accessible locations. As you can see, it is very on the top, the Sphinx place. Yet the Sphinx is positioned almost at the top of the hill, overlooking the wide plain, as you can see over here, and the main regional roads. This suggests that the carving of the Sphinx here was most likely deliberate and that the monument was intended to stand exactly at this point. Yet, the unstable political dynamics during the final decades uh, of the 13th century BC indicate increased territorial changes and regional competition. These two monuments not only show the importance of fossil site, but also display the close regional connection with deities and supernatural powers at a time when border areas gain emphasizes in political rivalry through their liminal characteristics and their close connection with the supernatural. In conclusion, I have briefly tried to share some recent developments in Hittite archaeology. Research continues at many archaeological sites across Turkey, and each new discovery adds another piece to our understanding of Hittite world. We can expect that future discoveries will continue to surprise us and deepen our knowledge. And thank you very much for your attention.